Hey guys, welcome to the Whimsical Workshop. Can you believe we are on month 8 of the Imagine block of the month? So let's get started. Yay! So this month we are on block 8, which is actually a nice easy block, and it should be a nice easy project. So I want to show you the block first. It is the little sun, and you can see, let me switch this so I can see what I'm showing you. You can see the decorative stitching I did on it with the threads. And then for the project, we did this really cute fabric basket with the suns on either side. Now this basket I did with the foam that you use in tote bags and stuff, and I'm not crazy about it because when you go to flip it, you have to do all this extra top stitching on it. So I'm going to use fusible fleece today, and that'll be how the pattern is written. But I just wanted to show you that you could do it with the foam. It's just you're going to have to do some extra stitching. Now the other thing I did is I did some decorative stitching along the band there, but then for the basket I actually didn't do any on the sun. So you have all kinds of options with this project, so let me get into what we've got. If you haven't been following along, the Imagine block of the month is in conjunction with MulQueen Sewing and their Aurifil Thread Collector Club. Every month you purchase the membership and you get a box of 3 large colors that are all curated by me to go with that month's block. And then you get our pattern for Imagine for free, and that has both the block in it as well as a bonus project. So far we've done a zipper pouch, we've done tote bag, we've done bench pillows, we've done, a journal cover. We've got coming up an artist, well, not an artist roll, but like an artist roll, but for quilting tools. That'll be next month. We have a needle book and pin cushion, I think, coming. And then those are 1 month. So 1 month you're going to get 2 sewing things. And I can't remember the last 2, but we are down to the final 4 after today. And I hope you've enjoyed the series as much as I've enjoyed making these. This quilt was truly a passion for me. I'll put a picture of it here for you. It is just, they let me design whatever I want. And this is coming truly from my imagination. I designed the lettering and all of the, I wanted a quilt to inspire, and that's why it's called Inspire. So with all that said, let's get into how to make the fabric basket. All right, so for the block, the sun is this size, and the block finishes at 12.5 inches. And I took the block, oh, let me grab it. All right, so you can see this is the block, it's 12.5 inches. And then for the fabric basket, the sun is much smaller. You can see the difference right there. You can also see how the decorative stitching really makes the block more interesting than without. But it's totally personal preference if you want to add the stitching or not. But the first approach to making the fabric basket, I thought I could take the sun just the way it was, pop it on a fabric basket, and you'd have a nice fabric basket. I didn't take into account that you have to create these box seams and have a side. So when I did the first one, that's what I got. And you can see the side is so narrow so that you wouldn't lose the sun. So as you can tell by the straps, I turned this into a cute little tote bags, and I did these little interior straps so that you could fold it down and still have the straps. And I did the decorative stitching. So you could just take this and turn it into a tote bag with the bigger sun. This will not be part of the pattern though. This was a mistake on my part, but I just wanted to show you you could have other options with this besides the ones that are in the pattern. And it's a cute little sunny tote bag for next summer. I actually have a friend going to Costa Rica. I may just have her use this because, you know, sun is sun. But anyway, that was my mistake turned into a project. So I had to go back to the drawing board to do this one, and that's when I went with the smaller sun because I figured out how big the sides were going to be. So, you know, that's why you have me designing it, so you don't have to go through all this. But I made a rookie mistake. As always, you want to go back to video 1 in the series to learn how to do the fusible applique and the blanket stitching. I went away for a week and I thought I had a roll of fusible web on my table, and I traced 4 of these suns with 8 inner and outer rays, so a lot of tracing, a lot of cutting, cut it all out, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong with my fusible web. Turns out it was freezer paper. So I had to lay all of my pieces upside down on an applique pressing sheet, take another piece, a piece of fusible web, and lay it over the backs of the fabric, iron it all down, and then recut out all the shapes to get fusible web on the back of this. So this simple project has turned into a very long drawn out project for me. And that's why I'm doing it, so you don't have to. Then we went from that point to this, and I thought it'd be really nice to have the bag foam, but you can see at the top, it just didn't come out very pretty. It's kind of wonky. It was hard to fight. I had to do an extra seam inside to kind of get it to flip and then top stitch it, and that didn't come out all that great. So needless to say, this will be the sample I keep. So we're gonna switch from bag foam to fusible fleece. I have used Deco Bond as my stabilizer before, and it works great, especially if you want collapsible baskets that you can pop in and out, but they don't hold their shape as well as this does. So let's see how fusible fleece does for you guys today, and we hopefully will have a happy medium in the middle. So we're going to set this aside, and we're going to put our block aside. Well, before we do that, let's talk about the block threads, because again, we're not going to go into blanket stitching. I got these stitched ready to go. I'm debating on whether I should go in and do some decorative stitching because that was really cute. But I think for this, we've done it on the block, so I think we'll skip it on the bag. But here's what we did. This month's colors were a beautiful powder blue, a lovely pumpkin orange, and then this really pretty yellow variegated. I love the yellow variegated. It's one of my favorites. I know I say that every month, but I did pick all 36 colors. So that's the combo. So what I did with the threads is I used the pumpkin orange to do my decorative stitching on both pieces. I also used the pumpkin orange out here on the sunray, and on the little sunray we used the variegated yellow to give us a definition, and then to keep the definition between the little ray and the yellow center, we used the blue to give you some contrast there. It's soft, it's pretty, but it gives it some depth. So those are the ways I use these threads, and then you can use the blue one to piece and the yellow or orange to piece depending on what lining you use. So with that all being said, now we'll put our block aside, and here's where we're at to show you how to make the fabric basket. Here's where we're at to make the fabric basket. I've gone ahead and I've put the suns on here. Now I bet the first question you're thinking, and if you're not, you should be thinking, how does she know where to put it to avoid the side and bottom seams? In the pattern it will tell you, but I'm going to tell you as well, to get to the center point of the front of the basket, you are going to measure in 8.5 inches, and you're going to measure up 9.5 inches, and that'll give you a 2-inch flip if you want to turn it over 2 inches. The other one I just showed you, because of the foam, it didn't flip the full 2 inches, but hopefully with this fusible fleece it will. So this is in the pattern again, 9.5 from the bottom, 8.5 from each side. I did a plus sign there. That was my center point where I built the sun. Once we had the sun built and fused down, I went ahead, I did the same thing on this one as I did the other. I did the blue in the center, the yellow on the yellow flames, and the orange on the orange flames. And now this one, we're going to give it a yellow lining. Because we've centered this on the front of the fabric basket, it is not truly centered on my square. Does that make sense? I hope so. Okay. So to prove that, we're going to take that ruler again. If you measure from the, gotta flip it the way I want to use it. If you measure from the bottom to the bottom of that flame, we are at 9.25. If we measure from the top to the top of the flame, we are at 4 3/8. So when you start doing this next step, make sure you measure this and that the widest part is at the bottom and the narrower part is to the top. These two sides will measure the same. So you can see here, there's much more here than here. This is your bottom. Most important part of this whole project. So once you've got that, we need to put our fusible fleece on the back, and whatever fusible fleece you use, just follow the manufacturer's instructions. And I'm gonna go ahead and press this on to each piece. Okay, and then once I've pressed this on, I'm gonna trim any excess. Like here, there's just a little fusible. I'm gonna trim that up with my square. I'm gonna keep my square. I know my square is right. My fusible fleece may or may not be right. So I am gonna trim up any excess on the edge. It just makes your seams cleaner and easier to align when you're trying to put it together. Once we have the fusible fleece on both sides, and if you have to, you can take like a chalk marker. I'm gonna do this. And I know this is the bottom. I just flipped it sideways. I'm gonna put a B right on my fusible fleece. It doesn't have to be super readable. Same thing with this one. You can see that's the bottom. I'm just flipping the side over and marking it with a B. And then I'm gonna double check that that is the bottom. And you want to do that after you press this on if you use a Frixion pen, because that B will disappear. I will remark it over there, but I'm doing it here for an example for you. Once the fusible fleece is on each piece, which I haven't done yet, I'm doing this all at once, but I'm explaining to you what I'm doing. So once the fleece is on here, then I'm going to stitch down each side and across the bottom for the outer bag. And then I have two 17-inch squares for the inner bag. I'm going to stitch down each side across the bottom, and I am going to leave an opening, like a 3-inch opening there. Now you have to remember we're going to cut 4 inches from each side. So you can mark it here. You're probably like, what is she marking this for? It will come clear in a second. In here. So what that means is when we do our box corners, we're going to cut out a square. So our opening has to be like that. You need to leave yourself some stitching to hold the corner together, plus you need an opening to turn it. I also, if you decide to do it on the side, remember it will also be 4 inches over here as well. So if you decide to do a side opening, you need to leave it open from there to there. You can choose. So I'm gonna go press and sew these together, and then we'll come back and we're going to do our box corners. All right, so I have put the fusible fleece on the outer basket and stitched it a 1/4 inch all the way around. And I have my B marked at the bottom, so I know that's the bottom, and now I know it's the bottom because the top should be open, which it is, so we're going to set that aside. Now I told you to go ahead and stitch the lining and leave an opening at the bottom, which I did. I also did a straight stitch down on each side here, which will help when I turn it. But I realized if I want to do a decorative detail around the top of the basket, kind of like what I did here, you need to do that before you sew these together. So what I've done is just ripped my lining apart up, you know, a 3-inch space here. And I'm going to show you how I will do a decorative stitch. So first you have to note, remember, this is the outside, this is the inside. And so what we're going to do is going to take a ruler. Now I told you the flip down will be about 2 inches. And we know we have a 1/4 inch seam here. So I'm actually going to draw a straight line. This is the right side of the fabric. So I'm using a washout pen, though I seem to have lost it. We're going to draw a straight line 1 1/4 inches from the top. This is going to be my stitch line. Okay. So I got one on that side, and then again, I'm flipping this over and doing the other side. You would have 2 separate pieces if you didn't do what I did and sew your lining together. So I'm gonna do the same thing here. Now to do decorative stitches, you need to have some sort of stabilizer on the back. We didn't need it on here because the fusible web acts as your stabilizer. So there's no stabilizer on this one at all, and it works beautifully with fusible web. This is just a piece of fabric, so we do need some stabilizer on there. So I've gone ahead, and this is what I like to use. I like to use the Sulky Sticky Fabri-Solvi. I have to say I do not have a lot of knowledge in stabilizers, so if you have a better stabilizer for something like this, let me know, because it could be a stay-in stabilizer. This is a washout one. But you're going to need a piece of stabilizer. I like this because it's adhesive and I can just peel and stick it. So now I need to put the stabilizer on the wrong side of the fabric. So this is the wrong side. We haven't turned it inside out. So I'm just going to peel this. I only cut a 1 1/2 inch strip. more than enough. A 1-inch strip would probably have been fine. And I'm just centering that line in the middle of the stabilizer. For the most part, it's a little off, but we don't care. It's inside, so who cares? And again, the same side. Now, if your lining is dark and you can't see the line, do what I'm doing. I'm just finger pressing it back, so I have a pressed line on this side to follow. And I'm putting this on. Now, I'm using the orange thread, and I'm going to do the same. Well, I'm going to do one of the Sunburst decorative stitches on it. Your sewing machine probably has different stitches. Use an open toe foot for this. I like an open toe foot because you can see what you're doing. But now that you have that stabilizer on there, when you go to stitch out your stitch, it'll come out quite beautiful. You know, you need it to I think I might use this one, but you might just, you know, if you don't have that stabilizer, it kind of bunches up and it doesn't want to lay pretty. So do the extra step of putting some stabilizer on the back. So I'm going to go ahead and add a decorative stitch to the edge of my bag lining. Then I will finish sewing up the lining. And in your case, hopefully you're doing the decorative stitch first, and then you'll sew the lining, making sure to leave an opening in the side or the bottom that is further than 4 inches from either side. Okay, there's my 4-inch mark, and there's my 4-inch mark. So you need to make sure if you do it on the side, it's outside of that. And the same thing here. You'll see I have a little stitching. Put it up there so you can see. Focus. I'm so short I can't see over myself. So you can see the purple lines are the 4 inches, and the little orange lines you see very faintly is where my stitching stopped. So when I go to turn this, I'm not going to pop those seams. All right, let me get that part done and we'll be back to do box seams. All right, so this is now what it should look like. I did the stabilizer on the wrong side. I did the decorative stitch on the right side, and I've sewn my lining. So now we have our lining and our outer bag. Move that out of the way. And so now we're ready to do our box corners. So how I like to do them, you can do it with a rotary cutter. I find it easier to do with the scissors. For this size basket, we're going to do a 4-inch box corner. So I've taken my ruler. It's 4 inches aligned there, 4 inches aligned there, and I draw the line. And the same thing here, and I'm going to do it to all 4 corners, and then I'm going to take scissors and cut out the corner. I find if I use a rotary cutter, I sometimes will shoot past the corner, and then it cuts into the actual seam, and I really don't like to do that because you shouldn't do that. So we're going to mark these, and again, they're on the inside, but I do like to use a pencil or a mark out pen, because especially like on this light fabric, I just don't want to have an accident and have it bleed through. So we're done with that and the pen. And then we're going to take scissors. These are my favorite, the Karen K Buckley ones. Well, I have several favorites, but this is one of my favorites. We do have those in the store, or you can get them at MulQueen, so I'm sure. All the links for all that stuff is below, including how to sign up for this block of the month. And even though we're on month 8, there's a video for every month about the support projects, and you can watch those whenever you want. It's a playlist on my channel. You just go to the front page of the Whimsical Workshop on YouTube, and there it is. And you obviously have found me on YouTube, so I'm going to guess you know how to do that. I hope. All right. So now we've cut out all of these. You can see just with the scissors I have so much more control, and I can really get that corner piece. And again, if you go a little over, it's okay because there's a seam there, but you know, sometimes I get a little crazy. So to do a box seam is the same for the lining and the box, lining and the outer basket. You're going to, here it is, and what we're going to do is we're going to take this edge and make them adjacent. And so what you do, like with the stabilizer in there, you can do it easier. You're just going to open that up. Doodle says hello. You're basically aligning the side seam with the bottom seam. So you're just going to bring that up, and it will want to make a box, which is what we want. And then what I do is I use Wonder Clips. I like Wonder Clips when I'm doing dimensional things over pins because I'm less likely to stab myself. And I'm just aligning the bottom seam and the side seam. I'm flipping them either way, and I clip there with a a wonder clip. The other thing you want to do, and I like to do this is when there's a stabilizer, I kind of run my finger in there to make sure that I get a nice sharp corner there, and I put a clip, and then I turn it around, do the same thing here. So I'm going to clip up all the corners, go over and sew a 1/4 inch seam along here, and it should be straight. So we're just going to sew a 1/4 inch right here, and then we're going to have box seams on both the lining and the bag. So again, we're aligning the 2 seams, we're nesting them together, folding one way and one the other, and you do want to make sure that this bottom one, it's a shared seam. So if this is going to the right, this one should go to the right, because if you do this, you'll get a twisted seam. And that again is the bottom of the basket. The side ones, it doesn't matter right now, so just follow to make sure that is laying all over on the same side. And again, just pop out that corner, make sure there's no fabric separated from the lining, fabric separated from the stabilizer, and you have a nice tight corner. So there's that one. And then over here on this one, same thing. It's just we don't have to worry about popping out corners because there's only a layer of fabric and no stabilizer. So we're just going to, again, align our side seam with our bottom seam. And we're going to nest them, put a clip, and same thing here, just align it. It should be straight. You know, if it looks like this, something's not aligned right. Same thing over here. You see how I'm kind of like rolling my finger and thumb there? That'll help you get that nice corner right there. And again, clip it. It seems silly to clip such a short seam, but trust me, it makes it a lot better. Again, this is going to the right. So on this side, we want it to go to the right, and we want the side seam to go to the left. And there we go. So let me go get these sewn up, and I will be back to show you what it looks like, and we can finish putting our basket together. All right, so we've got our box seams done. Now you can see why it's called a box. It now makes us stand up. And then the lining has the same box seams, but it also has my opening for turning. So that is all done. So now the lining stays turned wrong side out. Okay, so the lining stays wrong side out. And this is with the box bottom. There's the wrong side out. And then the basket gets turned right side out. So we have a right side out and a wrong side out. Now to make the basket, we need to open up the lining and slide the outer basket into the lining. And first things first, we're going to align our side seams, push this in there. Okay, and now we need to know this down here went to the left, so up here is going to go to the left, and that goes to the right. So we're just going to wonder clip this all the way around, and then I'm going to sew all the way around, and then we can turn it out through the bottom hole. So let me get this sewn, clipped and sewn, and then we'll be back to turn it inside out, right side out, and finish it. All right, so we've got this all sewn around the top here. I didn't cut my threads, probably should do that. And now we're ready to turn it right side out so we can top stitch and finish. So here's where your opening is. I do tend to like to have the opening in the bottom versus the sides, but it really doesn't make a difference. So we're gonna just pull this through gently. Don't pop your seams. And we're gonna just turn this. All right, now, if you remember, I did those little straight vertical seams in here. Let's see if you can see one right there. You see that? Yeah. I did one on either side of the opening, so then when I go to turn this right side out, I can literally stick my fingers in there and pinch this, and I will get a perfect little seam. That was a bag that was a bag trick I learned in Atlanta from this lovely lady Jane. No barking. No. And now we're gonna go, now that we've got it turned under, we're gonna go ahead and top stitch that closed, which I will do over at the machine, and then this will go inside the bag, like a bag inside the basket. I can't seem to figure out what I'm doing. And then I'm going to iron this edge and top stitch around the edge. Then we can just flip this down and have this pretty little... Then we can flip this down and have this pretty little edge to complement our basket. So I'm gonna go ahead and get those two things finished, bring it back for the end reveal, and we will have our fabric basket and our block for this month all done, and we will be on to month 9 in a few weeks. So let me get this going and I'll be right back. All right, so here we go, the big reveal. I sewed the lining closed, so that no longer has an opening. And I've pushed the lining down into the corners on here. Just make sure it's there. And you know, this still stands up pretty well just with the batting. So then we're gonna flip down the top edge to finish. And make sure it's even on either side. And there we go. There is our fabric basket. Okay, there we are. That's what it looks like. When you store these, this is how I store them for travel and whatnot. I just sort of tuck in the sides and flatten them like that. I think I am still going to suggest a stiff stabilizer inside plus the batting. So even though I didn't do that, I think the Deco Bond with the batting together would give us a much stronger basket to stand up. But this is perfect. So this is perfect just like this. Like I said, you can use the foam in there. It does make it stand up better, but then the top is harder to flip over. And again, I'm gonna probably have us put some Deco Bond in here and stand it up and get this ready for the shop. All right, so here we go. We've got it all ready to go. We're going to pop out the bottom here, just like that. And then we can flip over the top edge about 2 inches or however high you want to go. And there it is. You could put something on the sides. I chose not to. There's a sun on the back, a sun on the front, and the decorative top edge. I'll probably go over press this on the sewing machine just to give it a nice crease here at the top. But that is our fabric basket all made and ready for some goodies. Now, using the fusible fleece does make it a little less stiff. Like you can tell, this guy, he just stands up. This guy, he is a little more of a floppy fabric basket, but if you put towels in it or you put other things in it, as soon as you put something in the bottom, it will hold its shape. It's holding its shape right now. But if you'd like some added stiffness, you could put a stabilizer against the lining and use the fusible fleece against the outer, and it would just add some more rigidity to it. But I love it. It's our little sunny basket. When I was a little kid, my mom always sang, "You are my sunshine," so sunshines mean a lot to me. And there it is. Alright, so I hope you've enjoyed this video of our making the fabric basket to go along with block 8 of the Imagine block of the month. We will be back next month with the Love block. If you've looked at the quilt, you'll know which one I'm talking about. Otherwise, you need to tune in and see it. Make sure you like and subscribe. Leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think of this program and all of these little projects that go along with the block of the month. And I hope you ring the bell to be notified for the next video, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.